What's up, Epic 7? As you can see from this announcement, we have a Moonlight event coming up at the end of this month. Now, what does that mean? Well, Smilegate hasn't been particularly forthcoming with the information on this, but what we can glean from this post is that it's going to be a Moonlight Selector event. And the way a custom Moonlight Selector event works is you will be able to select any unit in the game, any ML5 unit in the game and any ML4 unit in the game, one of each, and put them on your own custom Mystic Summon. But first, before we get into that, are you bored? Do you feel the toxic monotony weighing you down? Do you need something exciting from Epic 7 to look forward to? Well, say less, my friend, I got you. We are pleased to announce that the AppGalleryEU Challenger Cup 2024 is now open to all heirs in every server around the world. Now, what is the Challenger Cup, you may ask? It's a new tournament, and it's open to everybody. It's loaded with prizes, including tournament-exclusive frames, top-end gear, mystic packs, monthly packs, 80% off coupons, and more. And it's all hosted by your favorite content creators, Valky, Car6, Divine Shadow, and Tristen, Wulf. And the best part is, you don't need to win to win. Wait, what? That's right. Just by participating, you can win prizes. And we didn't forget the loyal non-combatants either. During the tournament, Huawei AppGallery will be providing special offers for everyone in Epic 7. They'll be running a coupon campaign offering about 19% off all your in-app purchases. And the best part is you'll be able to claim these coupons every single day, and you can use the coupons when you're ready to make a purchase. Sound good? Let me show you how to reap these rewards and join us for this exciting tournament. First, visit the tournament introduction page with this link. This page may be a little bit slow to open due to server loads, but give it a minute. Here you will see all the tournament information, including the prizes, the schedule, and a giant button that says Join Now. So don't fight your button pushing compulsion. Smash that button and you'll be redirected to the official Discord. On the landing page, you will find links to all the information you could ever want, along with a group of helpful officials to answer any of your questions. But first, let's focus on this link here that says how to participate in the E7 AG Cup. This will take you to the sign up instructions page. If you don't have one already, you want to first create an AppGallery account. We recommend selecting Switzerland as your country. That way you can make the most out of the coupons that are going to be offered during this event. If you need help on this process, reach out to me directly and I'm happy to hook you up with step-by-step instructions. I even have a several-minute video that you can watch that will explain how to set up the AppGallery. It's a pretty simple sign-up process and the savings are profound. I don't recommend products that I don't use myself, and I use this product every time I make a purchase. Once that's done, the final thing you'll need to do is sign up for the tournament itself using this link for battlefly.net. We're using battlefly.net to track the tournament, and that's all you will need to do, locked and loaded. Now, when you sign up for the tournament, tell them that Tristen Wulf sent you. Mention Wulf, Tristen Wulf, T-Wulf, put my name in it somewhere. That will help me out. That will help me get credit for you guys signing up, and I would really appreciate that. Final thought is make sure you follow the AG Cup announcement channel, because this is where you'll find updates and notifications about the tournament. Registration closes soon. The tournament will begin the middle of February, with the finals reaching all the way to the end of March, so what are you waiting for? Get in there. So now that we're done discussing the tournament, you've got something hype and exciting to look forward to, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot of fun, guys. Let's talk about what ML5 units are worth getting. Now, the way this custom Mystic Summon works is it is completely separate from normal Mystic Summons. Any summons you do on this special custom summon will not apply towards your Mystic Pity one way or the other. If you're right up against Pity and you don't want to, you want to save it, maybe you want to get ML Politis or ML Senya coming up, so you want to save your Pity from that, well, you can do this custom Mystic Summon and not risk damaging your Pity. But if you are like 200 from Pity, pulling on the custom Mystic Summon will still keep you at 200 from Pity. It won't help you in that way either. So, is this banner right for you? Well, it lets you target any ML5 in the game, or any ML4 in the game, both actually. And that's kind of nice, right? So let's say you really want Lionheart Sirmia and Angel of Light Angelica. You put them both on the banner and you start summoning. And the way it works is every summon you do, you'll get 1 coin. So after you do 200 summons, you'll have 200 coins, and you can straight up buy the ML5 for 200 coins. Now in the past, at the halfway point of the banner, they've let us switch. So let's say after the first week is over, you can switch who your target ML5 and ML4 are. And what makes this nice is, say you start summoning, say you get 150 summons in, you've got 150 coins, and boom, the unit just pops out and you get it. You luck sack into it, so now you got the unit and 150 coins. Well, you switch to a second unit, you do 50 more summons, now you've got 200 coins, you can buy the second unit. So in 200 summons, 1 Mystic Pity, you're able to get 2 ML5s, basically for the price of 1, if you're lucky. You could also be very unlucky and go all the way to Pity, get 200 coins, at least you get to buy the unit straight up. Just like any other Mystic Summon banner, cost you Pity to get the unit, but hey, it was the unit of your choice. It's the one you always wanted. So, pound for pound, this is a very nice summon, as long as they let us switch units. But even if they don't let us switch units, even if it's just a one and done situation, it's still kind of nice in that it lets you hyper-focus target the unit you want. There are a couple of pitfalls to this. First, if you don't get the unit. Let's say you get 150 summons in and you still don't have the unit and you are out of Mystic bookmarks and the event's about to end. You've either got to whip out the credit card, swipe, and buy some Mystic packs, or you just don't get the unit and all of your summons were for nothing. There are other things in the coin shop you can spend those Mystic coins on, like mod selector boxes, but really you kind of wanted the ML5, right? Or the ML4 at least. So I strongly recommend against touching this banner unless you're sitting on like 8,500 to 9,000 Mystics. And the reason for that number is you'll need 10k to guarantee Pity. And then across a 3-week period of time with Guild Wars and refreshing the shop, you should be able to come up with the last little bit. Don't go into this banner on a wing and a prayer. You drop 5,000 Mystics into this thing, you don't get the unit, and then the event ends and your Mystics are gone. It doesn't carry over to the next event. The coins, you don't save them for use on the next custom Mystic summon. They're just gone. So only go into this event if you're sure you can walk away from it, either through having the resources or not minding spending on the game. If you aren't in either of those two classes, you avoid this summon like the plague. So to help those of you who do have the resources or are just feeling incredibly lucky and want to go in on this custom Mystic summon, I've decided to review all the units who are available on the summon, give you my takes on them, where they fit in the game, form of a tier list, so to speak, to try to help you guys figure out who maybe to pull for, because the meta has changed. Things have changed. People who are on top aren't anymore, and new people have risen to the top, so hopefully this will help you make your decision. Let's jump into this tier list and talk about what ML5 units are worth getting. Now, in respect of your time and my energy, I'm only going to talk about the ML5 units. If you guys are looking for and farming for an ML4 unit, you probably already know the one that you're angling for. So the way I've sized this up is I've broken down the units into 4 tiers. S tier, which is incredibly powerful meta choice. A tier, which is a solid unit, usable in lots of places. A B tier, which is niche use. It's kind of, you might find places for them, you might not. They're not super exciting outside of their niche. And then C tier, which is the unit just isn't used at all in the game, or is barely used, or only used by people that just really like the unit. I broke this further down into RTA, Guild Wars, Arena, normal banner arena, and PvE. I assigned a point system to each letter so that I could kind of get an overall tier. This sounds a little convoluted, but this is basically the way it works. Anybody gets an S tier in any category, 5 points. A tier 4, B tier only 2 because it's niche, and C tier isn't used, I'm not giving points to it. where S tier is going to be 15 to 20, B tier is going to be 10 to 15, and so on. I think you get the idea, but hopefully this will help you understand why I've ranked the units in these orders. I see so many tier lists where the units are ranked according to the way a streamer plays, or the way a tier list maker just likes the units and likes the feel of them or what they're familiar with, and I wanted to give something a little bit more concrete and a little bit less biased in the way I rank these units. So let's jump right in. First, we have Conqueror Lilius. Conqueror Lilius is as close to a perfect unit as you can get. She is usable in RTA, Guild Wars, and Arena, and she's even usable in a ton of PvE. Fast is her best way to build her. You can build her slow. I use this build in Guild Wars with a lot of success. I'm not saying that she is fine slow, I'm just saying she is usable. That's why your gearing difficulty is only hard. They keep throwing counters at this girl and she keeps rising to the top. Mediator Coeric is, again, about as perfect as it comes. A very, very tight tie with Conqueror Lilius for usability. His work in PvE from Abyss to Ancient Inheritance to even use in some Hall of Trials, and his uses in Guild War, Arena, and RTA are fantastic. Very, very strong unit. You pick these two units up, Lilius or Mediator Coeric, and you don't look back. There are no bad choices. Another nice thing about Mediator Coeric is he has multiple builds. You can make a damage build, you can make an effectiveness build, you can make a fast build to take point, or you can make a slow build to mess with Angel of Light Angelicas. There's a lot of options with Mediator Coeric. Makes his gearing a little bit easier than Conqueror Lilius. Zeo, although Zeo has minimal use in PvE, his Arena and RTA usage is top tier. He's also pretty good in Guild Wars. Zeo's biggest benefit is he is crazy easy to gear. You can build an effectiveness version like mine, or a damage version to ruin lives. Being a book-holding mage makes him the perfect support. Being able to outspeed even the fastest people with this unit. If you need a Zeo, now's your chance to pick him up. Lone Crescent Bologna. I mean, redheads, am I right? Lone Crescent Bologna is fantastic in RTA and Guild Wars with her ability to penetrate through anti-crit, and everything has anti-crit on it anymore. Little less valuable in PvE. She does find some usage in Abyss, but predominantly her tech is to defeat anti-crit units, and she is good at it. Urban Shadow Shoe, in my opinion, the strongest unit in the game, with the exception of she has no use in PvE. If it wasn't for her PvE, she would be my top unit. I think she is easily the best unit in the game right now for RTA, Guild Wars, and Arena. If you missed her before, if you slept on this unit, she is a great pickup. Little difficult to build, but man, she just wins fights. Spectre Tenebria. I don't think there will ever be a time when she's not in the S tier. Although her RTA and Guild War usage has dropped quite a bit, her use in PvE is still top tier. I think Spectre Tenebria is a unit you should have by now, and if you don't, you pick her up. Early game especially, and mid game she is a necessity, and even in late game she still finds good solid use in a lot of comps, to the point where some people even still first pick her. Death Dealer Ray. They tried to throw some counters at this guy, and he just ignored them and kept on trucking. Little bit difficult to gear, but much like Urban Shadow Shoe, is just a fantastic powerhouse unit. Doesn't really have any use outside of PvE, but is very good in Guild Wars, Arena, and RTA, and by very good, I mean top tier. If you don't have Death Dealer Ray, and you've got the gear to build one, good time to pick them up. Briarwitch Issaria, sitting at the top of our A tier. Issaria brings something in her kit that very few units have. Just by existing, she turns the ability to raise your units off. This makes her really, really good into units like Abyssal Euphine, who have raise on them. Makes her Arena and RTA usage very, very good. You can build her effectiveness like mine, or you can go full on high damage. She doesn't have much use in PvE because raise block doesn't do you much good. Lionheart Sirmia, one of my personal favorites. Used to be S tier in just about every metric. She has fallen down quite a bit with the advent of a substantially tankier and higher damaging meta, but she is still a solid pick in every aspect of the game, and even has some PvE usages. You can't go wrong with Lionheart Sirmia. The only negative I have to say about her is she is very hard to gear. Whether you go Destruction or Lifesteal, she takes a very high level of gear. Martial Artist Ken. Remember when this guy wasn't very good, and then he was incredible, and then he wasn't very good again? Well, he's back. Guild Wars Arena. The reason Ken is so good right now is because Landy and Abyssal Euphine are so good right now, and he counters the heck out of them. So if you are tired of getting your lunch money stolen by those units, pick up Martial Artist Ken and give a little bit of bullying back. Last Rider Crow has fallen off a little bit. He is still, in my opinion, probably the best ML5 Knight in the game. In RTA and Arena, he is still S tier. Though he has fallen down quite a bit, what he brings to the table in being a mitigating Knight who gives barriers and as acting as a sub DPS makes him too good to ignore. If you need some Knight support, this is your man. Strays was a tricky one to quantify, and these ratings are based on two completely separate builds. The RTA Strays has fallen by the wayside a little bit. He still has some niche uses here and there, same with Guild War, but he is not as highly pickable as he used to be. In Arena with Strays cleave comps, he is top freaking tier for cleaving in Arena. Now, if you ignore the top three and completely build him differently and put him on Torrent sets or Rage sets, you can build him for PvE, and you can use him as one of the best one-shot units for any hunt in the game. In fact, he is the cornerstone of 0 RNG, 100% clear rate hunt teams. Bellion. Bellion is an evergreen unit. Being able to shut off soul generation is too good. You can build Bellion on counter set and rip your opponent apart. You can build your Bellion on on protection set with Arius, which in my opinion is her current best build, and make her a powerhouse arena defense unit and also good in RTA. And though it's less common, you can also put your Bellion on an injury set and contribute to the downfall of your opponents. I think the injury Bellion has fallen by the wayside, less because it's not usable and more because the counter and protection set Bellions are just better. So unless you have 3 Bellions like me, you probably want to stick with one of the first 2 builds. And Dark Corvus. Dark Corvus is a monster. He is not just for slow Guild War fights anymore, everybody. Stick this guy on Durandal, give him a little bit of speed, pack some HP onto him, maybe a little bit of ER, and he will sail through RTA fights. If your opponent drafts poorly, you can slam Dark Corvus at the end, and there's not a lot your opponent can do about it. He is really good in Arena if you don't mind slow arena fights, and in Guild Wars, he's a savior. Now we've got Commander Pavel. This is a cleave unit. If you don't cleave, he drops straight to C's. But if you do cleave, this is your guy. He's a fantastic unit for RTA. He's one of the more important units for cleaving Arena. He has some limited use in Guild Wars, and in PvE, he is really, really good on an unrecorded history fast clear team if you're looking to really rack up Penguins and Catalysts quickly. Astromancer Elena. Initially thought to be not so good, she's really finding her place, especially in Guild War and Arena. She's almost a must-have unit to deal with the counter-attack meta that's thrust upon us by units like Euphine and Landy. It has no use in PvE and just very niche use. Your opponent has to play really dumb for her to be super effective in RTA, but I think she is worth the pickup. From the bottom of the pile to the top, Specimen Says is finally an A tier. Little bit of a gear ceiling to run this guy, but if you build him right, he can one-shot units without a stun, and with a stun, he can kill anything in the game. I think this unit is slept on a lot, and as long as you pack him with other units that can do stuns, you can do some amazing things with Specimen Says. I am constantly amazed how Maid Chloe keeps floating back to the top, but surprise, surprise, a unit who cleanses, gives raise buff and attack buff to the entire team is pretty good in just about every aspect of the game, from PvE to Arena to Guild Wars. She's been finding a lot more success in RTA, especially running KHM's style of fight, where you are running her paired with Crimson Armin and some other tanky units. Second best Knight in the game. I know he's niche across the board with a lot of Bs, so he is down in the B tier himself. He kind of defines the B tier, but a well-built, ambitious Tywin in the right situations, and that's the definition of niche. In the right situations can ruin the enemy's day. Probably the second best mitigating Knight, and man, if you love making people hate control comps, you're going to love using this guy. Apocalypse Ravi, my how the mighty have fallen. So a good APOC Ravi is hard to build. She takes a lot of gear, and she is one of the more stable units, but she is kind of niche. So many things injure and push back and control and throttle her ability to do damage, but a unit who can kill one of your units and raise one of your own team's units is never to be underestimated. I think the Destruction set A-Ravi is probably the best style to run, but some people still rely on the counter A-Ravi. My builds are both, well, B tier, like the unit, because I don't play her that much, so don't rely too heavily on what I've got built here, but a well-built A-Ravi can be a lifesaver, especially on the last few days of RTA where you're looking for stability. The newly buffed Spirit Eye Celine, we had hoped that the buff could get her off of lifesteal. Some think it does, I'm skeptical. I think she still needs lifesteal to stay healthy. Some run her on Dust Devil, but I still think Secret Arch Storm Sword is the way to use her in Guild Wars and RTA. She has got no PvE usage to speak of, but she is still predominantly a Guild War unit, but in the right situation, in the right niche situation, if your opponent drafts poorly, slam her and win. Solitaria was kind of B across the board, but she slips up to A in RTA because her ability to shut down focus lets her shut down Shu, who is one of the more devastating units. Especially when you pair her with Death Dealer Ray, you can make some insane things happen. Solitaria's biggest issue is incredibly difficult to gear to a stat and speed point, an effectiveness point where you can max her benefits. Sylvan Sage Vivian. Man, everybody has got this unit built and built well and then never picks her. She is the definition of a B tier unit. Everything about her is niche. You can use her in RTA, but there are probably better options except for very specific situations. Same with Guild Wars, same with Arena. I know I'm going to get some hate for this, but it's incredibly rare that you will reach for this unit in any impactful way where another unit wouldn't be better. Closer Charles, also kind of chilling out in the straight B range. He's got an edge over Sylvan Sage Vivian in that he is an instrumental part of a very solid arena cleave, but unlike Sylvan Sage Vivian, he really has no use outside of PvP fighting. His PvE usages are, his only PvE usage really is A13 one-shot. Faithless Litica is, in my opinion, one of, if not the hardest ML5 units to build. If you don't have the stat point for her, she's not a real unit and everything drops to C's. But if you can build one, and mine is about as minimum as they come, she is a great RTA unit, and if you can build a fast one, if you can get into the 300 speeds with her, she is probably one of the most effective cleaves in the game for RTA. Remnant Violet is a solid bruiser unit. He doesn't really have any use in Arena or PvE, but in Guild Wars and in RTA, he can be a lifesaver. So if you are a player of infinite faith and you want to roll the RNG dice, Rylet can win for you left and right. One of my favorite units to play because you see, when I was hard stuck in Masters, down in the dumps, I had a glimmer of hope, and that hope was Rylet. Rylet is my savior. He is my bread. He is my light. He is the way. I pray to Rylet every single morning, afternoon, and evening. I pray to Rylet when I boot up Epic 7 and start my endless Wyvern farm. I pray to Rylet to save me and boost me to Legend tier. With Rylet, I am strong. With Rylet, I am fulfilled. With Rylet, I am saved. Praise be to Rylet. All memes aside, there are two consistent Rylet builds, and that is the Lifesteal build, which in my opinion is the best build for Rylet. Though some people really like the speed Rylet build. I am not a huge fan of it, and this Rylet is pretty shambles. He's not going to kill anything, and this is some of my best speed DPS gear, but I have seen some speed DPS Rylets that are closer to 3800 attack, closer to 280 crit damage, and if you can pull off that insane level of gear, you can open with Rylet and do horrible things to your enemy. So you do you. My recommendation is, unless you want to go into the super ultra mega hard gearing ratio, you stick with the Lifesteal Rylet. Architect Leica, who many see as just a second version of Strays, but Leica kind of reshaped the RTA meta when she came out, and I think she is still better there than Strays. You can do more things with her, she's a little easier to build fast, and you can choose who you kill, unlike Strays, who just kills the highest HP unit, Leica, you can choose who dies, and that makes her just that much better. Combined with the fact that she can wear a book for soul burn, fantastic unit. Ruel of Light, surprisingly usable in RTA and in Guild Wars. It's kind of niche usage, but she is finding spots where sometimes you don't need the AoE healing, and the single target full heal gold shield can let you reverse a fight. I don't recommend the revenge set. I've got this on here because Evan Dario loves revenge set and I want to throw him a bone. Arbiter Vildred, still in the niche tier. I actually got killed by one a couple of days ago. If your opponent drafts their cleave poorly and doesn't have a good anchor, you can slam Arby and force them to ban him. Also, Arby gets a little nod in the A tier for PvE because he is still, to this day, one of the best farmers, if not the best farmer, for rapid clearing, unrecorded history, and power leveling your friendship. Fallen Cecilia, who used to be the top tier knight, has just kind of fallen off the map. Her berries are not as nice or as plentiful as Last Rider Crow. She doesn't do as many tricks or control nearly as well as Ambitious Tywin, but when it comes to mitigation knights, she is a very, very good one at that. Also an HP scaler, so you can kind of build her with damage, but really her niche being B tier, what her niche is you just don't have the other mitigating knights. Little Queen Charlotte lost a lot of her playability to Savior Auden. I mean, where would you pick LQC that you wouldn't just pick Auden instead? Other than that, she's got a little bit higher stats. She is still very usable in niche situations, and those niches are usually when you don't have Auden available or you need to hit just slightly harder. This one hurts my heart. Falling into the first spot on our C tier is Pirate Captain Flan. She is really just not that usable anywhere. There are certain situations in RTA and a handful in Guild Wars where, depending on what your enemy is drafted, you can pick her and win the fight, but those situations just don't happen as often anymore. Twisted Eidolon Charon does have some usability in RTA and can be used in some arena auto comps, but that's about it. We had hoped the buffs would push him up, but combined with the fact that he is used in so few places and takes an incredibly high level of gear to make him work. I mean, I think mine's pretty well geared, and it took some of my better lifesteal gear to make this one happen, and he still doesn't look that great on paper. So I don't know, I'm just not a fan of Twisted Eidolon Charon. And now we go over to Operator Sigrid. She used to be one of the best units in the game because if the enemy put up barriers, she could hard punish them for it. Well, the problem is, they put up barriers, she kills one unit, and then the barriers are right back up and she doesn't do that much anymore. She's not fast enough to go first, she's not strong enough to take a hit. You gotta build her strong enough to kill things, so she lost almost all of her gear and is now a very niche Guild War unit for me. Man, Judge Kisei, my opinion on this unit did not age well. I had really hoped the buffs were going to push her back onto the scene, but she still remains as just a very niche Guild War and Arena unit. She's got no real use outside of that area unless you just really love her and are going to put your best gear on her and force her into play, and even then, very, very hard unit to play. Hopefully she gets retouched yet again. Designer Lilibet used to be one of the best anti-cleave units in the game. Her ability to self-CR push and avoid and cleanse and do skill rollbacks. Others are just doing what she does better. Now, we've got better sources of cleanse, better sources of skill cooldowns. She's still got some very niche RTA uses against debuffing cleaves, but even there, you'll probably find other units that are better. Put her on damage set to at least make her do something for you. Sage Balance is on in the same boat. One of the best anti-cleave units in the game, and there are just better options now. Sage Ball doesn't do enough to finish the team off if your cleave team that you're fighting against has a solid cleave anchor. So some RTA uses for counter cleave, but again, just a hard to use unit anymore. And speaking of hard to use, Requiem Rowana, only really good if you are trying to Zeo cleave people and they try to Zeo trap you. She is a great way out of the Zeo trap by making sure that even if you hit a trap unit, she will still be able to go and reset everybody's skills. And she's great for that because I love using Zeo, but outside of that, just a hard unit to use, and it makes me sad because she's one of my favorite units. And speaking of another unit with How the Mighty Have Fallen, I mean, let's be honest, the only reason Desert Jewel Basara was at the top of the meta when he was is because Soul Weaver's got plus 10 speed from the Frenzy changes. Now, he is a solid way to cleanse and heal, but Lulakar has stolen just about every bit of his thunder. The only thing he does that Lulakar doesn't do better is slap immunity and boost your team a little bit, and it's just not enough to matter that much. Closing in on the bottom, one of the only redheads in the game to not be good, and it drives me nuts. For the love of God, Smilegate, do something for this girl. She's gorgeous and deserves it. Only really has a use in Guild Wars where you're trying to set up control comps or use Specimen Says, or on the very, very, very rare usages against Holotrials. The complete shambles units now, the ones that just have no place in the game. Archdemon Mercedes. You've got to really love this unit, or force her into a place somebody else would have probably been better to get any benefit out of ADS. Never used in Arena, never used in Guild Wars, never used in PvE, and only the ever so slight esoteric uses in Guild Wars, all combined with a difficult kit to put together. And then Blood Moon Haste, who just doesn't work. He was an answer to Raise, and then we got better answers to Raise, and then we got things that punish barriers, and everything strips now, so his barriers aren't that big of a deal. Haste doesn't need a buff. Haste needs a complete kit rework. He needs some major changes to make him a functional unit in this game, because as it stands right now, he just can't be used. And speaking of can't be used, the most impactful unit of 2020, when she came out, dominated the meta. Now, damn near unplayable. She's not fast enough to go first, or when she is, she doesn't do enough damage to kill things. When she has enough damage to kill things, she's too damn slow. She is glass. The extinction is nice, but if she never gets to take a turn before she dies, it isn't worth it. Now, this unit's not available for the selector, but people ask me to review these, so I'll go ahead and throw it out there. Euphine is one of the hardest units in the game to build, but if you can get the gear on her, I think everybody can agree that she is one of, if not the top unit in RTA right now, as well as in Arena, Guild Wars. You can even use her in PvE because of her ability to self-sustain and kill things and cleanse and strip. Oh my god, her kit is overloaded. They even put an attack down on her S1 for some reason. Not included in the selector. You cannot choose this unit, but this is where I would rate her if you could. You also cannot choose Ludwig. I put Ludwig firmly at the top of the A tier, mostly because he has no real use in PvE, but in PvP, though he is kind of hard to build, he is the perfect cleave unit for Arena. He is a fantastic cleave unit for RTA. Ludwig and Zeo are probably the fastest and easiest and lowest gear access to cleave. So if you want to cut your teeth on cleave, Zeo Ludwig is the way to go. One more time, not included on the custom Mystic Summon. You cannot select this unit. And the final unit, our most recent and most disappointing ML5, is Sharoon. Dragon King Sharoon is a pile of hot garbage. There are some people that like this unit. If you want to learn how to use this unit, go talk to I'm Sue. He is one of the few champions of Dragon King Sharoon. I just can't make her work. Her kit seems bad, her art seems bad, her animations seem bad. Everything about this unit is just bad, and I'm just feel extra bad for the people who got trapped into pulling this unit with all the new ML5s coming. So there you go. That's my tier list. Remember, Sharoon, Ludwig, and Euphine cannot be picked. But when I add up all the S's, A's, and B's, and C's together, this is how the units drop into an overall tier list. Now, styles of play and who you do and don't have and synergies will make these change, but hopefully this list will help you decide who to pick and who not to pick if you decide to summon on the custom Mystic Summon. And again, I caution you, if you don't have 8,500 bookmarks, Mystic bookmarks or more, or you don't mind whipping out the credit card, don't summon on this banner. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. Make sure you click that link and join the tournament. Make sure you mention that Wulf sent you, and you guys have a great one. Take care, everybody.